Hi everyone, this is Dee from Living With Me. Welcome back if you have been here before, and welcome if this is your first time. I'm not one to jump on a trend quickly, but I feel like this whole 2026 restart plans for the year is quite attractive to me. Not because I'm someone who usually does that, but because I did start my financial payoff journey in 2025, and I want to kind of give you an update. I want to share where I'm at, what I'm planning, what I have accomplished so far, and realistically what I can expect going forward if things go the way they have started. Now, since August of 2025, I have been sharing videos on debt payoff and financial freedom. I do this because I'm far from being financially free, but I'm getting there slowly. But I want to kind of talk about my general relationship with money, because so far I've never done that, and I think it's time. I am someone who has never had a healthy relationship with money, primarily because in my household growing up, money was never something we spoke about. Money was never something we spoke about positively or negatively. We just never spoke about money. And where I come from, talking about money is quite, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not something of good taste, so to speak. I have never had a healthy relationship with money for that reason, but also because I always viewed myself as this free spirit, living in the moment type of person. Life is short, and all the baloney you've all probably heard so many times. I am aware that some of these things are true. Life is short. We should enjoy now. This is all a fact, but I feel like we will all be living a little longer than we kind of think. So I might as well save and plan for the future, because the future is still possible, right? So I never had enough money to finish the month. What's the saying? You have a problem when you have more month left than money in your account. And that was me historically. I started getting into debt when I moved to the United States of America in 2011 as a young student who never in her life had a credit card, because where I come from, it's not easy to get a credit card, and I never even tried. It's not something that I thought of. But even back then, before I had credit cards and I just spent the money that I had in my checking account, I still didn't have enough money. I made enough money for a young student, but I didn't know how to keep the money. So that's also part of my unhealthy relationship with funds and anything coming into my account. So I started applying for credit cards left and right when I moved to New York in 2011, because they were just available to me. Everyone was offering them, and I just accepted. I had no idea how credit cards work. I had no idea what minimum payments means. I had no idea what interest means. I had no idea about anything. I understood that I need to pay back what I borrowed, but when, how, why, I had no idea. Yeah, it's dumb. I'm aware of it. It's very dumb, but lesson learned. Never again. Now I am paying for the sins of my past. I am owning up to it. It is what it is. This brings me back to 2018, where I finally said to the person in the mirror, what the heck are you doing? Something's got to change. Because at that point, I have accumulated $45,000 in pure consumer debt. Let me correct myself. $12,000 out of the $45,000 were a medical bill. Everything else was consumer debt. I didn't buy anything. I didn't buy property. I didn't buy a car. Just consumer debt. Stupid stuff. Amazon, dinners out, just stuff, and travel. Now, in 2018, I said to myself, this is not normal. And I stumbled upon Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps, and I was just in love. It made sense. It was the structure I needed. But what I did, I failed to realize that I was very ignorant and arrogant in that moment of time, because I just said, oh, this is great. This is the structure I need. Let me just finagle myself through these baby steps so I can pay off debt. And I completely ignored step 1, step 3, step 4, and all the other steps till step 7. I just focused on baby step 2, which is paying off your debt, smallest to largest in that order, ignoring the interest rates. And I did it. I did it beautifully. I did it perfectly. As Dave says, gazelle intensity. And I did it in 2 years on $18.50 an hour. Now that is impressive. I paid off $45,000 on $18.50 an hour. Let that sink in. Now, granted, my husband paid for food and rent, and all the money I made, I just put towards the credit card, the $45,000. So obviously it would take me way longer at $18.50 if my husband didn't completely take over food, utilities, and rent. At that time, our rent was around $900. Food was way cheaper, and our utilities were like very cheap as well. Natural gas, electricity, phones, and internet. So what I failed to realize at that time was that ignoring baby step 1, meaning saving a small emergency fund of $1,000 for like mini emergencies, and was supposed to do baby step 3, saving up for an emergency fund, a real emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, the first smallest emergency that arose, I went back to debt. Up, swiping credit card. Why? Because I didn't even have baby step 1 done, $1,000 saved, let alone a fully blown real emergency fund that could save me if I had a major emergency. No budget in place, no plan in place, no nothing. Fast forward a few years, I'm back to the same mess where I was in 2018. And prior, I have $40,000 debt. But the problem now is that in 2024, my husband lost his job. So now I'm the only breadwinner. And granted, I'm not making $18.50 anymore. I'm making way more than that. However, now I'm the only person making money. So I, in the beginning of 2025, said to myself, this needs to be cleared out. I need to take care of this debt. I cannot live like this anymore. But this time, I need to really do everything properly and in order. I loved Dave's 7 baby steps. It just works for me. It makes so much sense. It gives me the structure that I naturally don't have, because naturally I'm not a saver. I'm a spender. So for me to go from spender to frugal is 35 million lightning years away from each other. And now my husband lost his job. So I now had to figure something out and just make it work. The climate we live in right now suggests that my husband had a really hard time finding a job. But put that aside, that's his story to tell. Anyway, I completely focused on the 7 baby steps and realized that I have about $40,000 in debt. Early 2025, I went and had a breast reduction. I knew I had to purchase flight tickets and a bunch of other things for a destination wedding that we had in June of 2025. So although I wanted to already early 2025 focus on paying off debt, I knew that I had so many expenses coming up, lined up, that I had to let all of these things happen to be able to fully say, okay, now focus. 1, 2, 3, go. Pay off debt. So the only thing I dreamed of from the beginning of January till the end of our trip to Barcelona, Spain, was to come back from that trip and start paying off debt. I craved it. I craved the feeling of not having debt. The feeling of not having debt was the most liberating feeling in the world. And I said never again, but I somehow got there again because I didn't have a plan. And I didn't plan anything around my money. I just kept living like a free spirit, whatever. Anyway, what I did, I listed all my debts, smallest to largest. I am making okay money. I was just spending too much. So the second I got a paycheck, I put $1,000 straight into our high yield savings account, and I was done with baby step 1. Baby step 2, which I'm still on, is paying off debt. I'm so sorry that I'm wiggling so much, but my leg is numb. So I started paying off smallest debt to largest, and I'm still there. However, because I'm so hyper focused, I already paid off 3 debts. So let me list all of my debts. Now, these debts have been paid off over time in little segments. I really just tackled them in 2025. So my student loans, I started paying off in April of 2025, and the total amount was $17,010. My monthly payments, and that's the agreement with the student loan, whatever company, is $594.86. I'm paying this no matter what. This is the amount that I'm paying. My current balance is $8,279.40. Another card that I had was a Chase card. I cut that thing off in one of the videos. The total amount that I had, a limit, was $2,000. Of course, I maxed it out, duh. And I paid it off fully in August of 2025. That's really when I started. I had a Capital One card with a total limit of $5,000. I started that payoff in July of 2025. My total balance was $3,857.95, and I just paid that card off fully yesterday. Thank you. Yesterday, January 15, 2026. So I paid off 2 cards until I tell you the next thing. We also had a debt that was an Amazon card since 2018, and the total balance was $13,000. We kept paying $400 minimum payments towards it until we couldn't anymore, and then it went into default or whatever it's called. Then we didn't pay anything for 6 months, and then the company started calling and wanting to collections, right? And eventually I picked up the phone and said, hey, can we settle? They settled with us in September of 2025 for just under $6,000, which was a huge relief because it shortened my time by so much. So we made an arrangement of $1,491 over 4 payments, so October, November, December, January. And after that, we were done with the almost $6,000. So instead of paying off $13,000, we settled. I'm not too happy about it, but I'm also just happy it's done. We paid the settlement as of January 8th, and we're done with that card too. Thank goodness, and never again. And now, last but not least, an Apple card that I had since 2022. The total amount is $8,000. I currently owe $7,405.03. And that is the card I'm tackling next, now that I'm done with the Chase card, the Capital One card, the Amazon card, and after that, I'm left with the student loans. By the time I'm done with the Apple card, considering I'm paying a hefty amount each month towards my student loans, which is $594.86, my student loans should be much lower. I should be around $3,000 or around that number by the time I'm done with the Apple card. Now, I still have about $15,000 left. It's painful, but that's the money I borrowed, or I borrowed much less, but interest ate me alive because I was just a mess. Anyway. This time around, I am fully focusing on 7 baby steps because it is absolutely worth it. The best part about it is that I cleaned out my habits so much that I currently don't crave shopping. I don't do shopping. I live on very little money and I'm fine. And that is the one thing that I didn't do the first time around. First time around, I just paid off the debt, focused on nothing else but paying off debt. This time I'm focusing on creating better habits for myself. Now, what is my plan for 2026? My plan for 2026, God's willing, if everything goes well and no one loses their job, I will tackle the Apple card, the $7,405.03, and put all the money that I have left after my 4 walls are covered towards the Apple card. My hope is to pay off these $7,000 something by May. I should be able to do that only on my base pay. If I make on some months commission, then even sooner. However, this is my slow season at work, so I may not be, but let's see. If I pay this card off by May and keep paying the $594.86 towards my student loans should be down to like around $4,000, 3 something 4. And then I only have the student loans left, which I plan to pay off by September latest. And then I have September, October, November, December, 3 to 4 months, if not 5, depending when I officially finish with the debt, to collect and save for my 6 months emergency fund. In order to be comfortable, I need a $15,000 emergency fund. Currently have the $1,000 in the baby emergency, so I really need to save up $14,000, which once my payments are freed up, I will have the money. It will go quick. So I hope, and maybe this is wishful thinking, maybe not, I don't know, but I hope if everything goes well, that by the end of 2026, I will have no debt and I will have an emergency fund of $15,000, which means that if everything goes well, I will start contributing to my 401k and my Roth IRA finally in 2027, early January, like beginning of 2027. And that is my story. This is a big mess, and I know that some of you who maybe are watching this may think, oh my God, this is so stupid. Credit cards are fine as long as you pay your total balance in full, blah, blah, blah. And I get that now. But what I don't get is that, why didn't I get this sooner? Did I not get it, or did I just not care? I think I didn't care, to be really honest with you, because I know deep inside of my heart, without even reading any of these things, I just knew that, well, you borrow, you need to pay by a certain time, by the next billing cycle, in order to be current and don't get any interest charges, right? But I didn't because I overspent, I didn't plan my finances, and I never had enough money to pay off in full. And then when you kind of don't have the cash in your hands and you just swipe, you don't have much of a feeling like you're losing money and that you're overspending possibly, like when you have cash and you see it disappear from your wallet. And now I'm not saying I'm carrying cash around, but I'm only using my debit card. And tell me whatever you want to tell me, how credit cards are great, you can earn points. I do not care. I do not care. I cannot care. It does not work for me. I have no discipline for that. I don't want to have discipline for this. I don't want to have to spend $500 in order to earn 12. I made this math just up, but you get the point. I just don't care anymore. I just don't care. Now, on the subject of house, ideally, once we have the emergency fund saved and we start contributing 15% of our annual income to our 401ks and Roth IRAs and blah, 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 we will parallel to that start saving up for a down payment and start funding our son's college fund. What I'm trying to say here regarding the house, houses are extremely expensive right now. My ideal home would be a Victorian or colonial home, but I know it's too expensive. That is something I cannot afford. What we want to do is, because we live in Brooklyn and because our low rent allows us to have this flexibility, we would like to purchase a home somewhere upstate New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, somewhere not further than 3 hours from Brooklyn where we are. So we can go weekends because we love that. So we can go on our holidays and we can actually fix it up. But it would have to be in a semi-livable state so we can work while living there. We want to buy something that is obviously affordable, but that needs a lot of work. A house that is not a money pit, but rather a good project. However, I don't want to have any debt, so we want to save up as much as possible to buy something for cash, something that's $50,000, $60,000. Because $50,000, $60,000 once you don't have payments is not too much money to save when you don't have any other payments, if that makes sense. You can save that up easily in, I don't know, a year or two. So that would be a dream. So little house for the three of us, somewhere 3 hours north or south, whichever direction really. Ideally, we would save $100,000 and buy a house for $50K for closure, which we're thinking about, that needs work, and then save $50K to renovate. But obviously it can't be a money pit. It needs to be something that's inspected and that's actually worth investing. That would be something I would be willing to do. And even if it takes me, I don't know, 10 years, because our rent is cheap for New York standards, I would be willing to do that, to be really honest with you, just to not go into debt. So that would be really good, because I don't think my body, mind, and soul and heart can take any debt anymore. Because think about this. When you have no payments, you make better financial decisions. You do. If I got pissed at my boss, or if I feel that I'm really mistreated at work, when I have debt, all I can do, truly, especially in this economy, is zip it, lock it, put it in a pocket, right? If I don't have payments and have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, I have way more options than zip it, lock it, put it in a pocket. I can literally leave. I can literally give my 2 weeks notice. I can leave at the spot and have 6 months to find a new job. For example, it just gives you the freedom of making decisions that may be smarter for your future, and that's what I want to be able to do. I'm not someone who wants to retire early. I'm not interested in that. I love working. I am not interested in that whole thing. I just want to have the option to say no and leave if I truly need to. I think I'm done here. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. This will help me a lot. It'll keep me inspired. And I hope to see you in my next video. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Bye.